Hi, folks. Welcome to Crisco's Corner. Hi, folks. Welcome back. And those of you that are new, welcome. This is from Kevin McCarthy, the current Speaker of the House of Representatives, on his Twitter feed. And it's an interesting layout of the dates since the beginning of the year. We are now towards the end of May, almost into the summer. And Kevin McCarthy is right. Now, I don't trust him as far as I can throw him, but I trust him a lot more than I used to. So far, he's kept his word. Maybe he borrowed a set of balls from one of the Republican women. Either way, I think he's doing the right thing. Let's remember how we got here, he said, 10 days out from a Biden default on national debt. He ignored the looming crisis for months, despite my repeated calls to negotiate. Because of this inaction, he risked bumbling into the first default in American history. Now, if you remember back when Donald Trump was president, he is known for being a great negotiator. Yet Nancy Pelosi, if you remember, and Chuck Schumer, my senator, unfortunately, I live in upstate New York, not New York City, basically wouldn't negotiate at all with the best negotiator in the world. Oh, well. Let's look at the chronological dates here of this fiasco. Biden's inaction threatens default. January 12th. This is right after the swearing in of the new Congress. Speaker McCarthy calls on President Biden to begin debt limit negotiations. Response? January 22nd. Speaker McCarthy calls on President Biden to begin debt limit negotiations. Response from the White House? Speaker McCarthy calls for a meeting with President Biden to discuss responsible debt limit increase. Response from the White House? January 31st. Speaker McCarthy calls on President Biden to begin debt limit negotiations. Response from the White House? February 6th, Speaker McCarthy delivers an address on the debt limit calling for negotiations with President Biden. Response from the White House? February 15th, Speaker McCarthy calls on President Biden to begin debt limit negotiations. Response from the White House? And by the way, let me interject here. Biden voters, this is what you voted for. Speaker McCarthy delivered an address warning President Biden could bumble into default unless he starts to negotiate. Response? I do have to technically say that the press secretary, all she did was just rip apart the Republicans' plan. That's negotiation. Okay. Speaker McCarthy calls on President Biden to begin debt limit negotiations April 19th. Speaker McCarthy calls on President Biden to begin debt limit negotiations on April 24th. So we go from January, February, March, and April. Almost 4 months. So the Republicans said to hell with it. Technically, the Congress, the House of Representatives, controls the purse strings. Let's tell the truth here. That's the way the system has always been set up. April 26th, House Republicans passed a Limit, Save, Grow Act, a responsible debt limit increase that would avoid a default, with no input from the White House. My response to that? Well, what do you think? April 27th, the next day, Speaker McCarthy calls on Biden to begin debt limit negotiations. Response, besides criticism from the press secretary and the other talking heads, nothing constructive, no compromises. Their response was May 9th, Speaker McCarthy calls on President Biden to begin debt limit negotiations And all the president did, and all his talking heads did, was criticize this and work requirements for certain welfare recipients and blah, 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 blah. And they were going to cut veterans, which was a lie. The usual propaganda of total bull. And here we go. May 17th. President Biden finally acknowledges debt limit negotiations. Yeah. Yep, there you go. Well, I'll leave you with this. Biden voters, this is what you voted for. You cannot blame Donald Trump for any of this. Any of it. It falls squarely in the person you voted for, or the person that's really the president. Maybe someday we'll find out who the ipso facto president really is. You got what you wanted. How's it taste? Until the next time, goodbye and good luck.